We're about news, commentary, conversations, truth, liberty, and God. We stand for American values and our flag. We believe that the Constitution is a document that fortifies rights already given to us by our Creator. We will not apologize for our love of God and country, ever. We are Right America Media.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. As usual, in studio with me, I have my buddy from Citizens Doge. Andy is here to give us the Doge report. And after that, we're going to have Dr. Gilda Carl, a spokesperson for the International Council of Men and Boys and author of Real Men Don't Go Woke, and Steve Abramowitz for our final segment, host of Heartland Journal's Tennessee podcast. He's a music and movie producer and editor and host of Heartland Journal's. Yeah, I'm sorry. I totally spaced. But we're going to have a good episode for you. We're going to get into a lot of good topics. So how are you doing this week, Andy?
I'm doing pretty good. At first, I want to thank you for letting me in the studio last week when Scott Brown was on. Both you and he were gracious enough to let me sit in for the whole conversation. It was a good discussion of the issues and good in the personality on the personality side too. So that was good to sit in. Just want to thank you both for that.
I love. So I've. Me and Scott Brown, we connected, I want to say, the first time during the CD1 2020-2022 race when his wife announced, and we were at an event. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like a backyard barbecue. Somebody invited all the candidates to come speak, and they invited us over his band was playing at the Blue Ocean Lounge in Salisbury, and he invited me to come and see the show, him and Gail, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come. Hell yeah. And initially, they didn't expect me to come because they invited all the CD1 candidates. Like, yeah, come on, come hang out. We don't have to hate each other just because we're running against each other. And I was the only one who showed up. And it was a great party. He shreds on a guitar.
He's pretty good.
We had a couple drinks. We danced. We had a good time. I met their whole family, met their kids and stuff, and talked to Ayla Brown and stuff. And it was cool. And I was like, damn, when he launched his campaign, I was like, all right, Scott, piece of advice I have for you. People need to see the Scott Brown that I drink beers with, and sometimes something a little bit stronger, but they need to see that Scott Brown on the campaign trail because that's the guy that people are going to want to vote for. That's the guy that people are going to believe in. If you walk out and you're just the politician, then all of a sudden all you are is the guy who used to be a senator for Massachusetts or the ambassador. And people need to know that there's more there. And I think when he came on last week, we got to see a little bit of depth from him. We got to see a lot of his expertise and how he views, especially foreign policy, and what he brings to the table. And I was like, and it was in a very jovial conversation of just shooting the shit and going over things. And I was like, damn, I can't wait to have more candidates on, so that we can, whether it's Brian Cole, Chris Bright, Melissa Bailey, or Dan Ennis, I'll have anybody on. We can have jovial conversations. You know what? Make your case to the voters. I don't have to personally be voting for you or support you. Do it. So, what do you see around the state?
Well, it's definitely been a quiet summer, being it's the off year of the off election cycle. Mike and I have been going around to as many GOP groups as will have us to talk about our idea of this concept of essentially having a Doge group that is a citizen action engagement means rather than an executive action means like what we saw in D.C. with the Doge efforts at the beginning of the year. That structure is taking a little bit of time to build, but we hope that as we get through the last couple of weeks of the summer and we get rolling through September, we'll have some people going to more events, especially around Hillsborough and Rockingham County. We've got a growing base of people there who seem to like us, who have come to our events and have stayed after to talk to us, and we think that they're incentivized to go out and do something. So we hope that energy will really spike once Labor Day passes. But for now, it's a little bit quiet.
Oh, Labor Day, the dreaded Labor Day, the communist holiday. Oh,
yeah.
It's Labor Day is one of those holidays that we all celebrate because, everybody likes it signifies the end of the summer and the beginning of school starting and everything kicking off really for the year. And yet at the same time, everybody likes a day off and likes to chant it. Any excuse to barbecue and drink some beers, right? I mean, that's America for you.
Yeah, you don't pass that up.
Half the Gen Zers out there can't even tell you what Independence Day is really about or 4th of July is really about, but they all love a good beer and a barbecue. And it is unfortunate that such an important holiday has come down that and that we celebrate, Labor Day. I would much rather them label it something else, officially change it to something else. We don't need to be, it doesn't need to be a communist holiday, which is exactly what it is. But, everything's going to kick off after Labor Day and things are going to really start ramping down. The one thing I hope we can avoid is all the candidates taking shots at each other. As Don Bolduc used to say, it's quoting the Miracle 1980 team. It's about the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey. And everybody needs to remember that at the end of the day, we all need to work as a team because there is not a single Democrat running in the state of New Hampshire I would vote for over any of the Republicans running. There are tangible differences regardless of where you stand on the Republican, conservative, right-leaning political spectrum.
Yep.
So what do you got in the Doge report this week?
So I'll just move through the sponsors open in the recap of past events quickly. We're sponsored this week, as always, by the Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast, Loveland Realty, 7K Metals, and Red Tide Strategies. Just quickly through the events recap, we attended the Rockingham GOP meeting in Brentwood on Monday, July 28th, as well as a Young Americans for Liberty activist meetup at Prickle Farm in Concord on Wednesday, July 30th. We want to thank John O'Blennis and Leah Cushman, who we both consider friends of the group, for inviting us to those respective events. Monday, August 4th, as we were talking before we went on air, Mike and I were present at McIntyre Ski Area in Manchester for Brian Cole's kickoff event.
Yep.
Running for Congress in CD1. It was a really good production, especially the sound and audio guys who came for Brian. We'd met them previously when he'd come to one of our Citizens Doge events in Wilton, but they really put on a good show for him, and I think it was about 70 or 80 people showed up, some bigwigs from around the state and just, ordinary and curious, citizens from around the Manchester area, and I think Brian's dad even showed up.
Nice.
We didn't get the chance to actually shake hands or meet him face to face, but I was hearing around that at least his dad was there, if not both his parents, and so that was pretty cool. And
I also like Brian. He's a good guy.
He is a good guy, and we also want to thank Steve Kesselring for sort of being the one that extended the invitation to us. He's also a friend of Citizens Doge as well.
Okay.
Saturday, August 9th, Mike was present at Turning Point Action's event for their new coalition, Make America Healthy Again. A number of people who are sort of mixed in with the crowd of people associated with Turning Point Action in New Hampshire have ties to the RFK campaign when he was running in 2023 mostly, but before 2024 kind of muddied the waters and he was kept off the ballot. But they stayed together and they wanted to create a coalition through Turning Point Action as a means of sort of carrying that message forward. And apparently a crowd of about 20 to 30 people showed up there, as you can see from the photograph in there. And they had some signs. I can't quite tell what the signs read, but it looks like it was a good time. It was a hot day that day.
Dude, it was scorching out today. These last 2 days, oh my God. So I took the family to go get ice cream last night. Moose off 111 does a hot rod show every Monday night, starting around, I think it's like 4 p.m. You go get your ice cream and you walk around the parking lot checking out all the hot rods and muscle cars and stuff. We love it. We live right around the corner from there. We went now that my wife and kids are back from vacation, and holy shit. I got myself a mint chocolate chip frap, and as I'm walking around, the heat is killing me, and I'm like, all of a sudden, I feel like this is curdling in my stomach, and I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm about to pass out. Like, we were sweating, me and my son, we were like, our shirts were soaked. We're like, I just don't feel good right now. Like, the heat is insane this year.
Yeah, this whole summer from the middle of June on, it's just been nonstop. It feels like.
And before that, it was like extreme heat, and then you get a day of the day that you have off to get things done around the house. It's raining.
Yeah.
It's raining. Can't get anything done. I've been trying to get landscaping done for months, and every time I have a day to go out there and actually just focus on getting it done, you get pissed down on rain. And of course, you watch the grass grow you watch the grass go up 6 inches as soon as you get a rainstorm. You're like, and there we go.
Yep. And one last note on the past events recap: we had some friends I know who were present at the celebration of life for Augusta Patron on Sunday.
Sad passing.
I cannot vouch for exactly how many volunteers or friends of Citizens Doge were there. I can confirm that Bronwyn Sims was there. Shout out to Bronwyn. But there were, I'm sure, other people who were keeping tabs on that as it was happening. Obviously, that's been a big news item in New Hampshire conservative circles, and rightly so. I actually had the chance to chat with her very briefly when I was speaking before the Dublin GOP about 2.5 months ago.
Do we have a picture of Augusta Patron? Yeah, let's throw that up there. Augusta Patron is one of the sweetest ladies, and all affect the matriarch of New Hampshire politics. Like, she has been, and I know her health was declining, and I'm absolutely sure she's in a better place now. But that was a big hit. That was a big hit. She knew everybody, and I don't think a single person didn't love being around her and talking to her. Definitely a big loss for New Hampshire. So, and especially New Hampshire Republicans and New Hampshire politics. She'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, she certainly will. To just briefly give a shout out to sponsors, 7K Metals offers the ability to add precious metals to your portfolio in a way that is secure, simple, and sovereign. While they devalue your money, and they're devaluing our money, Julian.
Oh, yes.
You protect your wealth with real assets. Visit 7kmetals.com/citizens gold for more information. For this, I believe the second time in 3 weeks, Red Tide Strategies is a new regular in our sponsor role. It's run by a very bright and very, in my opinion, brilliant young guy named Alvin Wong, who I got to know last year with Lily's campaign. I highly recommend people check out his outfit that he's built at Red Tide Strategies, and if they get a chance to work with him or contact him, I highly recommend you do so, because he's the real deal. He has created a texting campaign package for individuals and groups looking to get word out on campaigns coming up. These guys, he is based right now out of Pennsylvania, but his family is located in Mass, somewhere along the 495 corridor, perhaps Bedford, Mass. I wish I could remember the town exactly. Okay. But he has, because he's helped Lily in the past, and he's forged some other connections in the state. He has New Hampshire ties. I can verify that. Okay. And I recommend that people do check him out. And if you want to reach Mike, when he's even off hours, but reach out to him by email, reach out to him by text. He will put you in touch with Alvin. And last, I want to say that Loveland Realty, again, David Loveland, Merrimack County Commissioner, and of Loveland Realty, he's been a great friend of ours. If you're a Granite Stater in the market for a new residence and you want to work with someone who shares your values, give David a call or visit the Loveland Realty offices on Foundry Street in Concord.
And again, another good guy.
Another good guy, yeah. And I dovetail, I mentioned David last this week because he is hosting an event for the Merrimack County GOP a week from this upcoming Friday. On Friday the 22nd, it's going to be the annual wine and appetizer event at Black Bear Vineyard in Salisbury from 6 to 9 p.m. Mike and I believe, both plan on being in this event. We may have some others show up, but we will confirm that another time. Saturday the 23rd, we've got a very busy overlap over that weekend and during that particular weekend. That particular day, we have a double dip. In the morning, we will be at the Ringe Jaffrey Fitzwilliam GOP's and Cheshire County GOP's joint barbecue at Ringe Recreation Center. In the evening, we are going to have a table at Guilford Old Home Day. So this is going to be a little bit of a hike from Cheshire County to get up to Guilford, but Guilford's part of an area of the state that's near and dear to my heart, the Lakes region. So I think I'll definitely make my way up to that one. It should be a good day. Saturday the 23rd. On Monday the 25th, we will be speaking at the Rockingham County GOP meeting that day. And very last, reaching out a little bit into September beyond Labor Day, we'll be in Swansea for Captain Brady's Endless Summer Nights Barbecue and Party starting at 6 p.m. And as you can see, the guest list and music is going to be top-notch. Lastly, as usual, I just want to mention again that we are on all the social media platforms. It's Citizens Doge pretty much on every single one of the major social media giants, except for X, at which we are at Citizens Doge USA. And yes, we are now on Instagram as well. Thank you, as always, Julian, for letting us do reports and sponsoring them.
Hey, I like having you guys on. I have constantly said repeatedly, it's about the grassroots. We got to get active locally. Otherwise, no, the Twitter machine in your hand doesn't mean jack shit. All right. Up next, we're going to have Dr. Gilda Carl, spokeswoman for the International Council of Men and Boys and author of Real Men Don't Go Woke. Stay tuned. We'll see you in a minute.
New Hampshire Republican Governor Kelly Ayotte has been making a lot of noise about how she's funding education. The Republican budget she just signed provides more money for education than ever before. She even bragged the other day that New Hampshire is top 10 in the country when it comes to funding our children's education, as if giving money to school systems has anything to do with learning. If you look at the math, and if you got schooled in New Hampshire, the odds are good it's not your best subject. It's the exact opposite. The more money we throw at schools, the less kids learn. We're committed to wasting money on an experiment that failed, unless wasting money to drive parents to homeschool their kids was the goal. We prefer to pick on Democrats, lower hanging fruit and all that, but our rhetorical woodshed doesn't discriminate. If that sounds refreshing, you need to check us out. This is Steve McDonald for Granite Rock, and we'll keep shining the light on them for you.
Forged in Chaos, a warrior's origin story. In this raw, anti-heroic tale, Tyler Gray dissects his life, exposing the unseen war within and exploring the question, what happens when the very abilities that made you a superhero in the eyes of the world turn you into a supervillain in your own life? Despite rising PTSD awareness, we're losing more warriors at home than in war. Forged in Chaos rips the mask off the warrior experience, exposing the truth that most never dare to face. Find Forged in Chaos, a warrior's origin story, written by Tyler Gray on Amazon.
Would you rather spend time with family and friends in the pool or at the barbecue rather than landscaping your yard? Well, Augusta Lawn Care is here to help you with all of your landscaping needs. Proudly serving southern New Hampshire, we handle everything. Weekly mowing, spring and fall cleanups, bush trimming, mulch installs, lawn treatments, aeration, dethatching, and even snow plowing and salting when the dreaded winter hits. Call Augusta Lawn Care today and let your yard be the best looking yard on the block. Call 603-331-4768. Augusta Lawn Care, locally owned, professionally done. Call 603-331-4678 or visit us online at AugustaLawnCareServices.com/Londonderry. That's AugustaLawnCareServices.com/Londonderry.
United We Stand, A Marine's Fight. Written by Julian Aciard. I wrote this book to decipher through the tumultuous political dialogue and political gangbanging we see on both sides of the aisle between politicians, activists, influencers, and pundits, and get down to brass tacks solutions in order to save our republic. Again, United We Stand, A Marine's Fight, written by Julian Aciard. You can purchase the book on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble. All right, welcome back to Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. Thank you for hanging over after the break. On the line, we have Dr. Gilda Carl, the spokesperson for the International Council of Men and Boys, author of Real Men Don't Go Woke. She has been on the podcast before, and as usual, you know, I always say I can't wait to have some of these guests back, and we got her back for another round. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Such a pleasure to see you again. Talk about hot. I heard you with the last discussion you were having. I am in Arizona. Let's see, it is 105.
Yeah, it's just up here. It's the humidity that kills you. I mean, it's been like, I think today it was 98, 96 or something like that. And it was with like 100% humidity. So you can swim through the air. It feels like you're choking on it.
Well, we don't have humidity. Our heat is dry heat. But that's a myth to think that that's okay.
No.
Because it's hot. It's hot.
Although I will say this, I prefer desert heat to humid heat. Like it's at least I don't have to change, multiple changes of shirts and stuff throughout the day.
I came from New York, so I understand that completely. It was really humid there.
So you're coming on today to talk about the crazed women increasingly resorting to supporting progressive activism. This, where is this stemming from? Why is it that women are overwhelmingly not just voting Democrat, but leaning so far into the extremes of being a Democrat in the left in everything that they're pushing?
I think it's even worse than you describe, actually, unfortunately. I saw a post on Instagram that said male suicides are a real thing. One woman wrote, it's not high. These statistics aren't high enough. And wow. 7,000 women liked that post. 7,000 women bought into that.
Wow.
So what are we really talking about here? The hate of women for men.
We're talking about misandry. Yeah, we're talking about outright misandry, and it's been popularized.
Absolutely. And they complain that, well, it gives you men back all that you have given us for being misogynist. What kind of idiotic statement is that?
The average man isn't a misogynist.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So when I saw that on Instagram, when I saw that post, I did a post on TikTok. And I said, what the hell is wrong with these women? Where are they coming from? Mm-hmm. Why are they so hateful towards men? And so far, that thing has gone viral. My thing has gone viral. And I have something like 54,000 views on that already. And it's only been up a few weeks. And men are furious. But the interesting thing that I'm hearing from the men now is that I will not have my son ever marry anybody. That's what I'm teaching my son. Never get married. Or women, I have had enough of them. I got divorced and I'm never going to see another woman again as long as I live. And worse and worse and worse. I mean, so what are the men doing? They're doing what I have warned them against doing. Silencing themselves, walking away, not showing up. Instead of saying, we have a problem here, let's get through it.
So I think where this comes from, I think that knee-jerk reaction, that gut feeling, the regurgitation against divorce against marriage and against women is coming from misandry has been so popularized on the left and in mainstream media and even in psychology that the red pill universe of Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fit and all those guys have been putting out this they're coming from the same bitter place that Call Me Daddy podcast and all these female-centric podcasts are coming from. They're taking the opposite sides, the extreme opposite sides of the same coin, and now the women are going, don't get married, all men are crap, and the men are saying, don't get married, all women are crap. I'm going, so your answer to misandry is to turn to extreme women on the left is to turn all men into misogynists. That's not a good answer. That's the collapse of society. I've been married for 15 years. I love my wife to death. I couldn't imagine living life without my wife. There is no positive side of divorce unless you're leaving an overtly abusive relationship. And I mean physically, emotionally, mentally abusive relationship. There is no positive outcomes for divorce. The statistics are in. They've been there for decades.
I couldn't agree with you more. This is at the New York Post today. Excited woman. I don't know if you can see this thing.
Yes.
Excited woman gets engaged to AI fiance after 5 months.
Wow.
And insists she's fully aware of what she's doing. Really? According to our statistics at the International Council for Men and Boys, there are more mental health issues among these radical feminists than we've ever seen before. So these people are not playing with a full deck. And when they say men's suicide rates ought to be higher, I just don't get it. Some of these women have little boys as children. Is this what you're feeding your little boys? We already know that the suicide rate of men is 4 times greater than that of women. We know that already. And we're seeing that coming down to 10-year-old boys. As young as 10-year-old boys, they're committing suicide. What is going on here?
I'm seeing the number that I saw earlier this week. If I remember correctly, it's between the ages of 12 and I think it's maybe 24. It could have been 28. It was 144,000 and some odd boys this year have committed suicide so far.
Boys. Okay. I understand if they're bullied and nobody's helping them. I understand if they're hurting that way. I understand if the family has no money. And I mean, even then, you have all these success stories of boys who have gone through horrible homes and have come out on the other side of the tunnel. There is hope. There is hope everywhere. And P.S., when you were talking about your wife earlier with your last guest, it was obvious that you are so bought into marriage and your family and your wife. It is just so evident. Why isn't that evident in so many more of these women and men out there? I just
you know why? Because they're coming from a hurt place, right? When you're emotional, you can't receive logic. When you're emotional, you can't receive logic, and when you're emotional, you're not thinking about the long-term ramifications of what you're doing. You're just thinking about how you feel in the moment, regardless of how it affects you, your partner, your children, everything. And I'm not going to lie, I've been there. I've been in that emotional place. I lost myself as a man. I've been in that emotional place where I broke down and I crumbled and I failed. And I've also been in that place where I've had a gun in my mouth and all I wanted to do was bite a bullet. And the first thing that came across my mind when I was in that moment, when I'm tasting that cold carbon, that cold steel in my mouth, was my wife, my kids, my parents, in that order, and what I would do to each one of them. Because while suicide seems like a solution for you to make the pain stop in the moment, it doesn't make the pain stop for anyone else. As a matter of fact, all you do is destroy their lives. And when it comes to divorce is very much the same thing. It seems like it's going to be something that makes the pain stop in the moment, but it doesn't. I've seen I just had the stats up earlier. 60% of women within the first 2 years regret their divorce and wish they could go back and work on the marriage.
I've heard that.
70%, yep, 70% of women in households on both sides of it experience a 41% income drop on both sides, male and female, immediately after. The kids are more prone to drug addiction, suicide, gang affiliation, early sexual debut in young teenagers. The women are more apt to young girls without their father or with their parents split up, without having their biological father in their household on a daily basis, are more apt to engage in early sexual debut, drug addiction, mental health issues, suicidal ideation, and the list goes on. And then not on top of that, you add predatory individuals within your communities who try to convince your children to be strippers or to engage in drugs and sex trafficking, or try to convince them to join a gang or in extreme ideologies. It just, the list goes on. There are really no upsides to this.
And there are so many men who tell me the same story that you have told me. I had some work done in the house, and I told everybody, listen, guys, I'm going to be doing interviews now, and I'm not going to be able to be with you. I just want you to do this, that, and the other. And I told them about this book, Real Men Don't Go Woke.
Yep.
And they were fascinated. Now, these are workers. These are guys who own their own plumbing, electrical, all kinds of contractors were here. And the plumber said to me, oh my goodness, during my divorce, I did the same thing. I had the gun in my hand and it was already in my mouth, and I was just short of pulling the trigger. I know what is the reason that they would go this far without even considering that there is hope. When I wrote this book, it had just come out, A Man from the UK, and I want you to know that this is not just in America. This is all over the world now. Yeah. A man in the UK, and he had just lost his wife, his girlfriend, or his wife, or his woman walked out on him. He had just lost his business. He had just lost all his money, and he was ready to end it all. And then he picked up this book, and he said this kept him from going off the rails. And I felt, thank you, God, that I had this book that I worked so hard over in his hands. He was in the UK. I didn't see him personally. I don't know what he looks like. He has now become a contact of mine who's always checking in with me. But he said he was ready to end it all. In a moment like this, people are ready to pull the trigger. And we have got to understand that there is more to life. Wait a minute. Breathe a minute.
Yeah.
Pray a minute. Do something. Go out and walk around the block, and then come back and tell me how you're feeling. And you'll be feeling a whole lot better because you will have changed your routine.
So I think, having been there, I think one of the major things, and I discussed it with Tyler Gray, who we've had on the podcast, PTSD, it was in the realm of discussing PTSD and how PTSD doesn't just apply to service members, it applies to a lot of people. And I was explaining to him that the vast majority of people I know, damn near every man that I know that has committed suicide didn't commit suicide over the stuff we dealt with in combat. Every single one of them has committed suicide over losing the pillars of who we think we are as men. And whether that's your wife, your family, your purpose in life, the principles, the foundational building blocks that make you who you are. When I considered it, I had lost the pillars. I had jeopardized one of the foundational pillars of who I was as a man that built me. And I hurt my wife. And the preceding years of trying to fix that, I got to a point where I constantly felt like it was over. Like, why am I even trying anymore? And all I wanted to do was bite that bullet because there was nothing in my life that I thought was worth living. And every single time that I did it, the first thing through my mind was my wife, my kids, and my family. And understanding that if this is what God really had planned for me, then all the other stuff wouldn't be happening the way that it is. And that it's not over until it's over. There's always something you can do, whether it's working out, whether it's talking, whether it's therapy, whether it's talking to your wife, talking to a pastor, talking to a friend. There's always that next step.
Communication. And this is one of the problems in our culture. Men drop out. They are silenced. They silence themselves. They refuse to talk to anybody. Talking to one of your buddies means that you're going to have to reveal something about yourself, to reveal something that you're not too proud of, to reveal yourself. And we have set up all these masks to provide coverage for who we really are. So in the book, I talk about 10 different ways men have dropped out of trying to be intimate with a woman. And whether it's with their smoking pot or doing any kinds of other drugs or going to porn or drinking, whatever it is, they're not going to say to their buddies, can you listen to me? I'm having some issues right now. They're not going to do that. Instead, they will say, I'm internalizing it. And it's not even a conscious discussion within themselves. I am going to just stay silent. And when you talk to some of these men, they say, well, if I bring it up to my wife, she cuts me down and she puts me down and she doesn't want to hear about it. And she thinks that I'm supposed to be totally omnipresent and omnipotent. And I'm supposed to have all the answers. But you know what? You are beautiful for having said, I was crushed myself. And I have said to men, because I talk to men a lot, especially since this book, and I have said, speak to people, talk to them, share with them your innermost feelings. And they will say, I can't do that. I just can't do that. And I say, why? What's going to happen? They are terrified that once they break down the mask, they will have nothing. But that is where they are most powerful.
On that note, I want you to tell everyone where they can find your book, Real Men Don't Go Woke. Again, this is Dr. Gilda Carl, the spokesperson for International Council of Men and Boys, and we are up against the hour.
Amazon, Amazon, Amazon. Simple.
We're going to have you come back on because I would definitely like to go deeper, and I enjoy having you on the podcast. It's very refreshing to see such a balanced mindset surrounding all of this.
Well, thank you so much for allowing yourself to be vulnerable. That V word is something you can teach men to do, and I thank you for being on this earth, sharing that message.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, that's the end of this segment. We are going to have up next, we have Stephen Abramowitz, host of the Heartland Journal's Tennessee podcast, to come on and have a discussion with us. We'll see you after the break. United We Stand, A Marine's Fight, written by Julian Aciard. I wrote this book to decipher through the tumultuous political dialogue and political gangbanging we see on both sides of the aisle between politicians, activists, influencers, and pundits, and get down to brass tacks solutions in order to save our republic. Again, United We Stand, A Marine's Fight, written by Julian Aciard. You can purchase the book on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble.
New Hampshire Republican Governor Kelly Ayotte has been making a lot of noise about how she's funding education. The Republican budget she just signed provides more money for education than ever before. She even bragged the other day that New Hampshire is top 10 in the country when it comes to funding our children's education, as if giving money to school systems has anything to do with learning. If you look at the math, and if you got schooled in New Hampshire, the odds are good it's not your best subject. It's the exact opposite. The more money we throw at schools, the less kids learn. We're committed to wasting money on an experiment that failed, unless wasting money to drive parents to homeschool their kids was the goal. We prefer to pick on Democrats, lower hanging fruit and all that, but our rhetorical woodshed doesn't discriminate. If that sounds refreshing, you need to check us out. This is Steve McDonald for Granite Rock, and we'll keep shining the light on them for you.
The Spirit of a True Patriot, the inspiring story of retired Captain Douglas J. Ernest. Douglas Ernest dives into the thrilling and transformative journey of a man who defied the odds to forge his path as a soldier and a businessman. This book is more than an autobiography. It's a call to action. Experience the remarkable story of a man who never takes no for an answer. You can find The Spirit of a True Patriot, the inspiring story of retired Captain Douglas J. Ernest, on Amazon.
This could be the moment we've been waiting for, the chance to feel alive.
Sometimes we forget we live in one of the most beautiful states in the country. This summer, vacation right here and discover your new.
This is where it all begins. This is where it all begins.
Welcome back from the break again. Thank you for being a staunch patriot and viewer of Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. On the line, we have Steve Abramowitz, the CEO and editor and host of HeartlandJournal.com, host of the Heartland Journal podcast out of Tennessee. He is born and raised in wine country in Napa, California, graduate of University of Southern California. Woo! USC. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for your service, Julian. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, compared to what I do for a living, sit here in front of a microphone, it's nothing. Or it's everything, I should say. Sorry. You gave me a freedom of speech, so bless you.
I appreciate it very much. So we have you on the line today to discuss data centers and water usage, and particularly in relation to what's going on in Tucson, Arizona, where the city of Tucson turned down a data center because they already have a water usage issue being out there in the desert. But then on top of it, these data usage centers use so much water in order to cool the data center that it became infrastructurally an impossibility for the city.
That's exactly right. That's not the only place, unfortunately. We just had in Georgia, next door to where I am, Monroe County, as a matter of fact, they denied a proposal for a 900-acre development right off of I-75. That would have been their second data center, the Bolingbrook Technology Campus. So it's ridiculous. That would have been 1.2 gigawatts. So that's, enough to send the Back to the Future DeLorean back to the future. But they wanted a second one so people could store their TikTok cat videos and viral dancing, I guess. It doesn't even make any sense why we need this.
Okay. So what is driving this? Well, one, what is driving the need for the data centers in the first place? Is it the amount of people who are online? Is it the platforms themselves are getting so advanced that they require exponentially more to process? And how did the water come into this? Is it an infrastructural issue where we're already taxed on our water systems and we just can't afford to infrastructurally to do this?
Well, the planet can't sustain it, in my opinion. I mean, data centers in Australia, they're facing more scrutiny now, all of a sudden, because their water consumption, which is projected to double by 2030, not very far from now, 5 years, a significant amount of water to cool these facilities. That's why you need it. With some, single data centers consuming millions of gallons per day. Melbourne, 19 data centers are applying to use 20 billion liters of water a year. That's an average of 1,200 liters a day is all you need for a house, which is 300 gallons if there's any liberals listening to me. Domestic energy basically is expected to double or triple, they haven't told us, by 2028. That's 2 years away. So by 2030, annual water-related capital and operational expenditures are forecasted to reach $797.1 billion, which is about a 31.4% increase from here. And that's the answer as to why. So that Facebook and Amazon and XAI and all these other heavily data storage units can store the data, save the data. My question is, why do we need this data? Trump said we're in a race. We've got about 4,000 data centers in America. China doesn't even have 500. So I'm not sure who we're racing with. It's not like the arms race from the Cold War, but more and more money is getting plowed into more and more counties that don't have water to feed the people, to feed the beast, which is the data centers. And there's just a new International Energy Agency report that came out that said that they're expected to consume energy enough to fuel Japan on an annual basis by 2030.
Holy shit. I'm going to be honest with you. I do a lot of work. I obviously doing this podcast, and I think Mr. Producer Juan can also attest to this. I spend a lot of time on social media promoting the podcast, commentating a lot of political strategy, sitting in spaces on X, giving breakdowns of the left, the right, voting dynamics, behavioral psychology, foreign policy, everything. I'm on social media constantly. If I didn't have to be in it for my job, I don't think I would ever pick up a damn social media account ever again. I absolutely hate social media. It has become a dumpster fire of everything that is wrong with frickin' society. I find the dumbest people on the planet now have a voice, and for some reason their voice is thrown out into the ether as something that we should listen to. People who intellectually should have been cast out to the children's table in society are the people running the conversation. I agree with you. Why the hell do we need the data centers? Do we really need to save the retardation that perpetuates on social media on a daily basis to the level that we have now, to where I'm watching grown-ass men saying that we should just go our separate ways from women, engage in porn and smoking weed and playing video games and watching movies and be complete misogynist waste of space. I'm like, holy shit. Who the hell is running? It's like we're living in idiocracy. That's what it is. We're living in idiocracy right now. Mike Judge was a genius.
Well, I'd hate to say it, but I do have a podcast, and so I do send a lot of digital bits and bytes out into the ether, and it is stored on a server on Rumble and YouTube and Play TV, which is owned by Parler and all the rest. So I do have to say, but I do also want to admit that I grew up in my career in the Pacific Northwest outside Seattle. I'm now in Tennessee. But everybody believed in this digital age where we were going to save the trees, cut down less forests. We don't need paper. We don't need books. But what they didn't realize was these data storage servers that used to be the size of an iPhone, and then they grew to, like, I guess during NASA exploration of the moon, it was the size of a warehouse, and it got smaller and smaller. But that all created waste into the waters, into the rivers, and made it very polluted. And so as we've gotten more and more bandwidth and the availability for your show and my show and Netflix and Amazon Prime and all the rest, that's where, Deloitte predicts that data centers are going to be where they are today, about 2%. By 2028, as much as 28 million households worth of energy, and that is making the prices go up. So not only are we polluting the waters, we are economically devastating the folks who thought this was a very convenient, cheap way to listen to music, right? Well, that's long gone. So another one, a massive proposed data center near Delaware City, likely raise residents' electric bills. The first hyperscale data center in Sioux Falls. So they're looking, just like they used to look for Walmarts and Costco's, where to buy the cheap land to put the big warehouse on. They're looking for the cheap land to put the data centers on that have water. Well, that happens to be a lot of times next to where people have built cities and towns and townships and farms, right? So scientists now report that so much groundwater is being pumped out of the ground that this affects how the earth spins on its axis. right? Popular Mechanics said tilted 31.5 inches, which probably causing flooding and moved Tornado Alley a bit north, like here in Tennessee, which for me is good where I live, but not good for Nashville. So anyway, point is that this freshwater resources are rapidly disappearing, creating arid mega regions and causing sea levels to rise. They didn't learn their lesson with solar panels, which was frying the turtles in the ground, but also getting pelted by hail, which will put $1 billion solar panel field out in Wyoming out of business overnight. But they didn't learn the lesson. And hydro, the same way, they're blowing up the dams. Colorado River Basin has lost a Lake Mead's worth of water in the last 20 years. And, scientists are saying we're at a critical point. They used to try to freak us out by saying, oh, it's peak oil or the rainforests are going away or all this kind of stuff. Well, no, that's replenishable. But if you drain a aquifer underneath the ground that feeds Memphis, for example, and then all the surrounding states, that is limited supply. That will make us look like the surface of the moon. They've already proven that there were rivers that carved canals into Mars. Maybe AI took out Mars. Who knows? I'm not that old.
I don't know. Right where we are right now, it feels like that scene in Idiocracy. What do plants crave? Brawndo. Well, what does Brawndo have? It has electrolytes. That's what plants crave. Why not put water from the toilet? I feel like in this endless cycle of well-meaning ideas that cause catastrophic issues. And we're like, there's no common sense person in the room that says, just because we should, or just because we can, it would be nice in the short term, doesn't mean we should, or that it will be good in the long term. Where is that stabilizing voice? I mean, when you're telling me that we're consuming so much water that our energy prices are skyrocketing and we're drying out our aquifers and our water assets, is there any of this getting pumped back into the ground?
They have come up with some strategies to try to recycle that water, because when it turns into steam or evaporates, it's gone, right? It goes into clouds, it moves on to the next state, you can't use it. But now, Wyoming has a facility that's going to consume twice as much electricity as the entire state does in a year, produces. So what are they going to do? They're going to have to go across the way to Idaho. They're going to have to go to Canada. They're going to have to go elsewhere to try to get that energy that they can't produce anymore because they used it all up. And according to McKinsey Global Institute study, if you believe those guys, AI could generate an additional 13 to 22 trillion dollars in economic value by 2033. That's what they want. So when you're looking back at Zuckerberg or Gates or Elon Musk or any of these people saying, well, is the water and the sustainability of our farms and our plants and our humans more important than $22 trillion of profit potential and owning that market and beating China and beating the UK? The UK just had a tweet. I don't know if you saw it. I put it out there before the show. They basically told everybody, hey, we're going to have a drought. Start deleting your old pictures off your computer because data storage consumes a ton of water. So they're just now starting to figure this out. And so God bless Georgia and Mason County unanimously voted, no, we're not going to have a second one. So finally, the tide is turning where the city councils are saying, wait a minute, we don't need storage as badly as we need our water enough. So if the tide will turn, no pun intended, we could put a stop to this and not reach those expectations that McKinley is saying that we're going to compound it double or triple in the next decade, because we really don't need it. I don't understand why we need it. I mean, we went from the NASA warehouses to fly to the moon, they say, to iPhones, to shuffles. Do we really need massive storage units to collect that information? I don't think we do. Just, let it be said, let it go out into the ether, and that's it, done. But I guess they want to have it for posterity so that the cyber, or the 1,200 miles away, there's supposed to be or 12,000 light years away, there's supposed to be a meteor heading towards us. If it's manned by somebody, they can come and do the research and see what you and I were talking about today on the Ethernet.
I honestly, I'm listening to this, and all I can think is, one, not everything that we say, think, and do needs to be recorded. Part of the thing that makes memories priceless and valuable is the fact that they're memories. It is the fact that they were here for a moment and then we're gone. However, at the same time, you know, I'm at least some people are catching on, and there's some sobering minds out there who are looking at the long-term effects of this, and I hope that there is a turn. But what I'm seeing is going to, I don't understand how they can look at the short-term profit potential and not see the long-term ramifications of the very people that you're going to reap profit from are the people who are no longer going to be able to afford your product because they can't afford to heat or cool their house or to keep their house.
Don't forget, there's a big move towards transhumanism, right? Elon Musk, Starlink, or Neuralink, and Bill Gates and all his fake food, and they don't really care so much about you and me since we will be gone by the time these profits are reaped. They want to, I don't know, they want to live forever somehow and sustain their technology to service the plastic stuff that Walmart sells. I don't know. I've always subscribed to the Henry Ford theory of business, is like you want to provide something that your consumers will buy. And if they repeat buy, that's fantastic. That means you're doing a good job. They like your quality. They'll tell their friends and you'll do a lot of business. You start doing like the cigarette model and you kill off your customers, not very sustainable, but they must have other purposes. And we know that Musk wants to go populate Mars. He doesn't even really care about here. So no offense to him personally. I don't know what the goal is. I don't know when God's going to intervene and say, okay, enough, Tower of Babel stuff. And that could be right around the time people start saying, wait a minute, we need that water to flush our toilets and drink. But there are places in America right this very minute that don't have it. They're boiling their water in Southern California because a pipe broke because Gavin Newsom isn't doing his job to make sure infrastructure is staying. So they do have a problem between man's desire to be sustained and live and technology's ability to actually deliver storage. I don't know. It's weird.
This is one of those situations that drives people to think that there is no justice, that there is no worth saving democracy, and that's what's driving these insane people to go out and try to assassinate CEOs of major corporations. I'm just telling you, when you tell people that there's no they're there and that the pain that they're feeling isn't real, and you shut them down and you tell them the system of justice isn't real, they're going to go out and seek justice on their own. I'd suggest pulling away from the abyss. Thank you, sir. I'm so glad you came on. Again, this is Steve Abramowitz. He is the host of Heartland Journal's Tennessee podcast and CEO and editor of heartlandjournal.com. Thank you for coming on. Where can people find you?
My favorite place to send people is heartlandjournal.com. You can get the podcast, you can get new news, you can get my column every Friday. You can this will probably be on there. So yes, heartlandjournal.com on any of your technology devices.
All right, sir. Thank you for coming on. I look forward to having you on again in the future. I'm sure this is not going away anytime soon. All right, God people. Bless. That is the end of this week's episode of Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. Make sure to go follow, like, subscribe to ramtv.com on all major platforms. That's Right America Media on all available platforms. Make sure to replays of this podcast, Granite State Live, Shadow Band, and Drew Allen podcast. Share it, like it, subscribe to it, send it to your pals. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself. We'll see you next week. God bless. United We Stand, A Marine's Fight. Written by Julian Aciard. I wrote this book to decipher through the tumultuous political dialogue and political gangbanging we see on both sides of the aisle between politicians, activists, influencers, and pundits, and get down to brass tacks solutions in order to save our republic. Again, United We Stand, A Marine's Fight, written by Julian Aciard. You can purchase the book on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble.